coronavirus. The Post seemed to roil President Trump a bit. He responded on Twitter asking why President Bush didn't support him during the impeachment trial.
So, a beautiful
It's
post.
really worth watching. And
that Republican or Democrat alike should watch that. And what a beautiful closing line. We rise or fall together, and we choose to rise. Just beautiful.
Good morning, and welcome to Morning Joe. It is Monday, May 4th. With us,
a lot of people said that they miss having a president like that, whether it's a Democratic president or a Republican president.
Someone with competence.
Someone that actually works to unite Americans.
With us, we have White House reporter for the Associated Press, Jonathan Lemire, MSNBC national affairs analyst, co-host of Showtime's The Circus, and editor-in-chief of The Recount. John Heilman is with us. Former chief of staff to the DCCC and former director of strategic communications for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, Adrian Elrod is with us. And chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, Peter Baker. We have a lot of developments to report to you on where things stand with the sexual assault allegation against former Vice President Joe Biden. A number of developments since our interview, and we're going to get to all of that in just a moment.
Yeah.
But first, Joe, the U.S. death toll is nearing 70,000 as the president is still pushing to reopen the country.
Well, it's really unbelievable. You know, 2 weeks ago, it was 2 weeks ago today, on April the 20th, that Donald Trump predicted, after getting things wrong from the beginning. In February, he said it was one person from China going to be down to zero. In February, he said it was 11 people going to be down to zero. Also, in late February, he said it was 15 people going to be down to 5, maybe 5. And they all along talking about what a great job he's done because it was going to be down to zero, because it was going to be down to 5. Well, 2 weeks ago, Donald Trump said, oh, it's going to be 50 or 60,000, which shows what a great job we've done. So his standards constantly move. Last night, Bret Baier asked in this bizarre town hall setup where Donald Trump, filled with self-pity, decided to tell Americans that he's been treated worse as president than Abraham Lincoln. Bret Baier asked him about, once again, his moving death toll.
We're going to lose anywhere from 75, 80 to 100,000 people. That's a horrible thing. We shouldn't lose one person over this.
That number has changed, Mr. President. You said
it's going up.
60,
no, it's
60,
going up.
70,
I used to say 65,000, and now I'm saying 80 or 90, and it goes up, and it goes up rapidly. But it's still going to be, no matter how you look at it, at the very lower end of the plane if we did the shutdown.
Actually, he, again, said it was going to be zero. And it was 11 to 0, 15 to 5. Then he said it was going to magically go away in April. When things warmed up, would be gone in April. Then, of course, more Americans died in April of this pandemic that the president said wasn't going to affect us.
At one point, he called it a hoax.
Said the media is, over-hyping it. It's a hoax. So I say all this for a reason, and I say it mainly to senior citizens who I've been talking to on this show from the beginning about taking care of yourself, not listening to politicians, talking to doctors. It is very telling that the President of the United States, as he rushes headlong into reopening as much of the country as he can, going against his own White House guidelines, the guidelines he announced. It's worth noting, before you go head first into a situation that could cause you a lot of pain and misery and possibly even death, just stop for a minute and think, wait a second. In the past 2 weeks, since Donald Trump said this death toll was going to be 50 or 60,000, while he's been rushing to go past his own guidelines, to ignore his own doctors, that the death toll has spiraled so badly that now he's saying instead of 50 or 60,000 people dying just 2 weeks ago, now we're up to possibly 100,000 people dying in the United States of America. We're going to be over 70,000 by tomorrow. Chances are good we'll be up by 80,000 at the end of the week or maybe even the beginning of next week. It could go even faster than that because while infections are slowing down in New York City, guess what? They're going up in other parts of the country. So this wishful thinking, and I'm just shocked by the president's wishful thinking, and I'm very concerned for those people who are ignorant of science and medicine, who are listening to Donald Trump and actually believing him. People are dying. They're dying because, because of these rosy scenarios.
A lack of preparation, a lack of taking warnings seriously.
And the president,
let's just say it.
It's not just the president doing it now. The president's actually lying to you about the fall, saying, oh, it's never going to come back in the fall. And his doctors have to keep correcting him. So anyway, Mika, that's where we are as the week starts. The president continuing to get this wrong. That's why the polls that are coming out are all bad news for him. I know that drives him crazy, makes him do even crazier things. It makes him talk about disinfectants being injected, makes him talk about lights being disinfected, makes him say stupid things about Abraham Lincoln, makes him insult George W. Bush when the 43rd president's trying to bring us together. General election poll out by CBS News has Joe Biden up 49 to 43%. It's still early, but something is definitely happening out there. And then you look at a Dallas Morning News poll, unbelievable, in Texas. The Dallas Morning News has Donald Trump and Joe Biden tied. Well, John Heilman, we're going to get to the news, but I think this Texas poll especially, if you look at all the swing state polls, it requires a quick discussion here. What's happening in Texas? What's happening across the rest of the country?
Joe, I think, hey, happy Monday. I've been thinking a lot about President Trump and how interesting it is that he thinks he's been treated worse than Lincoln, who, if my memory and history serves right, was shot. So
that, sir, is correct.
Someone might want to mention to the president that he hasn't been treated worse than a president who was assassinated. But I think what's happening is this Texas poll is the latest in the series that we've now seen all over the place, right? Which is that, there's not anything that qualifies as a straight up for sure battleground state or a battleground state that one of the parties wants to turn into a battleground state where Joe Biden is neither ahead or making gains that would alarm anybody who is sitting in that Oval Office or on the president's reelection campaign. Texas is a state that, is not yet a battleground state. It's not even the closest reach state for Democrats. That would be Georgia. But you look at the polls in Georgia, you look at the polls in Texas, in both those places, the president has some problems. And I don't think it's shocking that those states, along with Florida, states where the governors have, in their effort to try to be as Trumpy as possible, have said, governors, lieutenant governors, other elected Republicans have said things or tried to reopen quickly or have seemed to put the rush to reopen ahead of concerns around social distancing and public health. And that is something that we've seen overall across the country is not what the country wants right now. What the country wants right now is a singular focus. Everyone's hurting economically. People do want the country to come back to life economically, but right now they are still way more concerned about their health than they are about the economy. And Texas is a place where that's been in pretty where there's been some disjuncture between what the people of the state want and what some of its Republican leadership has talked about.